Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the Turrell Fund, supporting Reimagine Childcare, Rutgers University, Newark, the Fidelco Group, Bank of America, RWJ Barnabas Health, Johnson & Johnson, the Northward Center, United Airlines, and by the Adler Aphasia Center. Promotional support provided by AM 970 The Answer and by NorthJersey.com and Local IQ, part of the USA Today network.
This is One-on-One. I'm an equal American just like you are.
The jobs of tomorrow are not the jobs of yesterday.
Look at this. You got this?
Here it is, man. Look at it.
Life without dance is boring.
I don't care how good you are or how good you think you are, there is always something to learn.
I did do the finale, and guess where my trailer was? A block away from my apartment. It couldn't have been better.
People call me because they feel nobody's paying attention. Start talking right now.
Such a good question. High five.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. Welcome once again to a half-hour program dealing with important policy issues and issues like childcare. And to kick it off, we have Natalie Renew, who is a director of a national organization called Homegrown, focused on improving the quality and access to home-based childcare. Natalie, talk to us. First of all, welcome. Second of all, why is this more important now more than ever before?
Thanks, Steve. It's great to be with you. Childcare has always been an important issue in this country, but now more than ever. The pandemic really laid bare how critical childcare is to ensuring that we have a thriving economy where women fully participate in work, but also ensuring that children are cared for and supported during this challenging and difficult time. Childcare is critical for children who need to be out of the home. Quality childcare is critical so that children are learning and thriving and enter school ready to be successful. And it's critical for their families so that they can work and know that their kids are well cared for. And it's critical for communities and economies to ensure that parents are working and that childcare owners and providers are able to offer services that are valued and supported.
Natalie, you know this is part of our ongoing series called Reimagine Childcare. The website is up right now. We encourage people to find out more. And people think, oh, you're doing a series on childcare. This affects the economy. It affects the stress on parents, disproportionately women, single women, especially. But my question is this: to what degree has COVID adversely impacted home-based childcare?
Sure. So home-based childcare providers have experienced a number of things during COVID. Firstly, there's been increased demand and reliance on home-based childcare as center and school-based care shut down. More and more families looked to home-based providers, including relatives and neighbors, to care for their young children. Simultaneously, home-based childcare providers have really experienced enormous hardship during the pandemic. In addition to sort of worry about their own health, bringing, the children of essential workers into their own homes, exposing themselves to the virus. They also have experienced significant financial hardship, really a triple whammy of financial hardships, which is one, the cost of care has gone up. Sanitizing, buying PPEs and things like that have increased the cost of doing business. They have had disrupted revenue, either because enrollment has changed or because parents' ability to pay has changed. And for home-based providers, they have really struggled to access public supports, whether that is the Paycheck Protection Program or other state and federal supports. So it has been really very challenging for them from an economic perspective. And despite that, these incredible women and caregivers have continued to really support families through this challenging time.
Natalie, the series that we're doing is called, in fact, Reimagine Childcare. You have told our producers, and you've said publicly, quote, our current childcare system is simply not working. So, reimagining childcare, we want it to be way more than a slogan. If you reimagine it to what it needs to be, what it must be, what does it look like?
Well, firstly, it's got significantly more public support. We really need to think about childcare as a public good and one that we as communities broadly value and pay for. But also, I think there's a real opportunity to think about childcare that meets different parents and diverse families in different places and offers much more flexibility and really supports different choices that parents make. And so, what we hear from home-based childcare providers is that they want to be respected and valued as a critical part of the childcare system, and that, from the perspective of families, their needs change. When a child is a baby, they may want something that's different than when their child is a 4-year-old. And we really need to ensure that there is availability and supply of high quality options in homes, in schools, in community centers, and other forms of childcare. So reimagining childcare for me, number one, starts with significantly greater public investment that is really targeted towards improving compensation and working conditions for providers and caregivers. And it also really means getting more support to families, not only in terms of lowering the cost of accessing care, but ensuring that they have high quality options in different settings, including home-based settings.
By the way, have we been putting up the website of Homegrown? I want to make sure that we do, even if not now, we're in post-production, let's put it in there. Before I let you go, Natalie, it sounds like it's not just professional for you and not just because you're the director of Homegrown. It sounds personal for you, is it?
Absolutely. I really feel so incredibly honored and privileged to get to work with hundreds of home-based childcare providers across the country. And these women are incredibly inspiring. They not only care for young children in their homes, but they are pillars and anchors of their communities. And I feel very lucky to stand beside them and support them in this work.
And finally, support for Homegrown comes from philanthropic organizations, foundations, et cetera. Same with us as a public broadcasting affiliate, a not-for-profit production company. Same thing with you?
That's correct. Homegrown is supported by 15 national philanthropic organizations who really came together around the fact that 7 million children under the age of 5 have their early childhood experiences in home-based settings, and that setting receives the least attention, investment, research, innovation, and we're really committed to changing that.
And that includes the Terrell Fund right here in New Jersey, in Montclair, New Jersey. Natalie, thank you so much. We wish you all the best. We will continue this conversation. The Reimagining Child Care Initiative is not a program, a series. It's an ongoing commitment. And Natalie, you're a part of our public awareness effort. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve.
I'm Steve Adubato. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
To watch more One-on-One with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
We are honored to be joined now by Dr. Alejandro Giménez-Santana, director of the Newark Public Safety Collaborative and assistant professor of professional practice at the Rutgers School of Criminal Justice. Good to have you with us, Doctor.
Thank you for having me, Steve. It's my pleasure to be here.
Tell everyone what the collaborative is and why it matters now more than ever as we tape midsummer 2021 with crime rising in urban communities all across the nation.
So, Steve, the NPSC was created in 2018 before the movement that we know today as Reimagining Public Safety. I agree with you. Crime is rising in some cities across the U.S. Fortunately, in the city of Newark, we've seen a different trend. And that trend has been different since both from the beginning of the pandemic, throughout the pandemic, and now in 2021. We are seeing a slight increase now in violent crime, but throughout 2020, when violent crime was in the rise in other large American cities, what we saw in the city of Newark was actually that violent crime was not spiking, it was even going down. And in regards to property crime, the reduction was even more significant. The reason,
why do you think that is, Doctor? Sorry for interrupting. Why? And we had former Public Safety Director Anthony Ambrose on many times. We've spoken to Mayor Baraka about this. Why do you think Newark, just across the river, you look at what's going on in Washington Square Park as we speak right now, and in other places across the nation. What makes Newark different?
So I believe in Newark, we're seeing a symbiosis of interests that are coming together, from City Hall to the police department, the public safety unit, the university, other anchor institutions, community groups. There's a good symbiosis in terms of what can be done to improve public safety in the city of Newark. So you see leadership coming together with community groups, and you see the police department being extremely proactive about thinking out of the box of what can we do to improve public safety in the city of Newark. And I think that we are seeing that type of leadership really playing out. And we are seeing through crime statistics that the city of Newark is an exception across the nation when it comes to the increase in crime.
By the way, this program is being produced. We talk about higher ed partners. We're producing in collaboration with Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, and also Rutgers, Newark. But I'm curious about this. So if Newark is doing, and Newark is doing better in terms of particularly violent crime rates, then why is Newark and what is going on in Newark? Why is it, and I'm not saying it's simple, but in Baltimore and Los Angeles and Chicago and Detroit, why is it not the national model?
Mm-hmm. So that's what we are right now advocating for here at the NPSC, the initiative that I'm directing at the School of Criminal Justice and Rutgers Newark. What we are advocating is for co-production. It's a new model. It's different from traditional community policing models of the past, which have existed since the 70s. And the idea is, through data-informed community engagement, which is the way we call this technique, how can we empower the community to work alongside the police? And here there's no rankings. It's not the police who's directing the conversation. It's not the police who's talking to the community. No. How can they become partners, equal partners in the fight for public safety? Because in the end, it's a shared mission for all stakeholders in the city to come together. So we believe that through data, we can make decisions that are transparent, democratic. We can show how the police can work alongside the community. And we can actually encourage the community groups to take action, because through access to data, they can, for the first time, I believe, see that they can play a role in issues like homelessness, in issues like mental health problems, increasing awareness of certain problems. And that is something that the police sees with good eyes, because the police also has problems that they cannot solve. And the community has the tools and they have the skill set to deal with some of these problems. And that's why I believe that here we're in a perfect symbiosis between both groups. Yeah.
So, but I want to follow up on this.
Mm-hmm.
We respect and appreciate the positive things going on in Newark. Not perfect, but much better than most. But Dr., would you agree that on the part of a significant number of folks, particularly in urban areas, but not exclusively, that there is an anti-police sentiment, that police, many of them feel under siege. Many of them feel that they can't do their job to protect those disproportionately Black and brown and urban communities. That they're frankly, forget about just defunding the police, but that the police are somehow the enemy. That can't be a solution.
So as you very well explained, even in the city of Newark, right now, let's remember Newark is under consent decree because—
the federal government came in because Newark had such a terrible track record of disproportionately with Black and brown individuals. They were just the number of them that they were arrested for no reason, the crimes that were not being committed, pulled over, all kinds of stuff. So the federal government came in and said, cut this garbage out. We're going to monitor you. Pick it up from there.
Exactly. So as you explained very well, the city of Newark is under consent decree because of those reasons. And that's why the police department had to change. And that change, has gone through years now. They had to improve the way they police the community. They had to improve the way they collaborate with the community. They have to be more data-driven, which is something that wasn't the case.
But I really, in the time we have, I want you to deal with the other question of so many who are watching right now. I don't even know if it's so many, but many police officers who are friends of mine personally, say we can't do our job. We are under siege, under attack. We're perceived as the enemy. And for what happened with George Floyd, with the horrific Derek Chauvin and the murder on camera speaks for itself. But there are a whole bunch of cops who feel like they're paying the price for that again and again and again, which is not good for the people they're trying to protect.
Exactly, and I agree with you 100%. I talk both with the police and with the community, and I feel that resentment on the side, of course, of the police, because they feel that they've also been blamed for something that happened in other places. But I also think that it's important that we look into how police in the streets, how the way they interact with the community, and there's also a need for restoration, a need for more social justice. And I think that in Newark, we are seeing those things. We are seeing those things because at the leadership level, you see how the mayor is asking for more involvement of the community, how the community is giving feedback to the police. And what I think is very, very important, and it's something I've noticed, is the police is extremely proactive at listening. They want to listen from the community. They want to learn what they're doing wrong.
Is Newark the anomaly? I'm not trying to be negative here, but my question is Newark, with Mayor Baraka and the police department, nothing's perfect, but again, seeming like a very collaborative relationship, it seems like the anomaly.
And I agree with you. I mean, I'm talking from the perspective of Newark because it's where our initiative is and where I'm right now. But I definitely think, of course, that there must be efforts in other places. But the city of Newark, what I'm seeing is this symbiosis between the different agents, the different stakeholders, walking on the same direction. When the mayor is talking about we need to be more proactive in community-driven solutions for public safety, when the police is open about it and they explain that they are collaborating more, I think that there's, in general, a sense of we want to get there and we know that we need to do it together. So I agree with you that in the city of Newark, what we're seeing is that symbiosis of different parties coming together because they all have a shared role, which is to improve public safety. And the city of Newark, I feel that we need to understand that it's a city that right now is transforming, and it's a city that in the future, by improving public safety, we might see a communities thriving where they haven't been thriving over the last 10 years. And that's something that I've seen happening myself over the last 10 years living here. So I'm very excited to see what are the next steps in this process.
Professor, I promise this will not be the last conversation, not even close, because it's not you check off the box, hey, we did something on urban crime and police reform. So much work needs to be done. Thank you, Professor. We appreciate it, and we look forward to future conversations. All the best to you and the family at Rutgers Newark.
Thank you so much, Steven. Thank you for having me.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
To watch more one-on-one with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
We're now joined by Vaughn Crowe, who is a managing partner of Newark Venture Partners. Good to see you, Vaughn.
Steve, great to see you.
For those who don't know what Newark Venture Partners is, describe it for everyone.
You know, Steve, again, thank you for having me today. Newark Venture Partners is a seed stage investment firm focused on enterprise software based here in Newark, New Jersey. Started in 2016 under the wonderful leadership of Don Katz and Ray Chambers, Mark Burson, a lot of friends of Newark, RWJ Barnabas, and several others who believed wholeheartedly that Newark has the intellectual capital and the financial prowess to attract early stage companies to our city that will help catalyze the city of Newark by way of creating a technological infrastructure that will support job creation, will generate market rate returns, and do good by our community. So in a nutshell, that's who Newark Venture Partners is, and we're fortunate to have it here.
Sorry for interrupting. So much of what you're talking about in terms of economic development and the technology ecosystem, if you will, is about innovation. To what degree, as we're taping this late in July 2021, has COVID impacted adversely or otherwise this initiative? You know,
Newark Venture Partners, unlike other venture capital funds, not immune from COVID. I personally was affected, but for Newark Venture Partners, we've stayed the course in trying to find and support the best and brightest founders from all backgrounds. And one example of how we've stayed the course deploying capital, a company moved to the city of Newark from the Bay Area. We led their seed stage investment. They saw the infrastructure that Newark brings to the table, doubled down, took our capital, took our guidance, and moved their offices to Newark. We don't expect that to be the case with all of our portfolio companies, but hopefully that's an example that as an outcome from the challenges that we've all dealt with in COVID, there is still hope and opportunity for business to see Newark and to see Newark Venture Partners as an opportunity to call the city home and contribute to the technological infrastructure here in our city.
So let me ask you, for businesses who are startups, right, they're early in their development, how has COVID impacted them? I mean, they don't have the history, they don't have the relationships, et cetera, et cetera. How hard to even survive it?
Difficult to survive, but keep in mind, we're talking about startups in technology. So built into their nature is the need to have some type of innovation, a level of flexibility that shows that we can be nimble and we can figure it out. So yes, again, challenging, Steve, but at the same time, there's that curiosity and that level of interest that exists to suggest, how do we innovate? We've had portfolio companies that started off manufacturing security devices, saw a need to be helpful to educational systems and hospitals to track and monitor COVID, pivoted in the middle of a pandemic to offer services and products to respond to the global pandemic that we were all dealing with. That's what innovation and that's what technology and these creative minds that have come to Newark from all over the country. That's the beauty of being in this industry, is that you have to be flexible, you have to be nimble, and the ability to pivot even during a global pandemic is a strength that we've seen with our founders in our early stage businesses. And we hope to continue to support them such that they can continue to grow and raise money from other investors down the road.
Let me ask you, people talk about hiring shortage. It's funny, you call it a hiring shortage, a labor shortage. There are jobs, but there are not people to fill, enough of the right people to fill those jobs. To what degree in your work at Venture Partners are you seeing that the labor force is not there to the degree it needs to support the initiatives that you're supporting?
We're investing in early stage businesses, 3 to 5 person employees, founder led. So we're, in all candor, we're a bit immune from those particular challenges. With that said, we have had a few companies in our Fund 1 portfolio that have grown and have taken office space in other parts of the city, in other parts of the country. And I have not yet heard there being too many challenges in finding labor to support their businesses. But I'm sure that as we reopen our offices and have more direct communication with our portfolio founders, we'll learn of those challenges and we'll do what we can to be supportive.
Well, give me a minute or so on increasing diversity. We have a long-term series called Confronting Racism. Piece of it is increasing diversity. Why is that? In terms of gender, race, culture, geographic bias, or people from different geographies, et cetera, et cetera. Why is that important from a business point of view?
So fundamentally, first and foremost, Steve, it's just the right thing to do. And so you start there, and then you take 2 more steps to say, well, if it's the right thing to do, how can I create value from a different point of view? That point of view coming by way of culture, geography, education, gender, et cetera. There is a direct correlation to the growth and prosperity of a business, with diversity and inclusion being a core focus of what we're all trying to achieve here. So 56% of our portfolio is comprised of founders of color and women. Our investment team, a 5-person investment team, 60% of that team is comprised of persons of color and women. And so we are a reflection internally of what we're trying to do externally, and making money, generating market rate returns, and supporting founders from all backgrounds are not mutually exclusive. And I think that we're leading an effort here, and hopefully my peers and colleagues will follow.
Got a few seconds left. I was born and raised and came out of the North Ward of the city of Newark, as you well know. The North End Broadway Boys and Girls Club does not exist anymore, as you know. You came out of a different club.
Grew up in the South Ward of Newark, Hawthorne Avenue, South Ward Boys and Girls Clubs in Newark. Because of challenges, I ended up taking 2 buses from my home on Clinton Place and Hawthorne Avenue over to the Littleton Avenue Club. And the Broadway Boys and Girls Clubs in Newark was my first job. I have an obligation to bring my community along with the success that Newark Venture Partners will achieve. We will make money, we will support founders from all backgrounds, but it's not enough. We have an obligation to support to support our children. And for me, it was personal because I grew up there, and who I've become today, all the good, you can largely attribute that to my family and to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Newark.
And our great mutual friend, Ray Chambers, and his support of the Boys and Girls Club is just, there are no words to describe it.
There's no words to describe one of the greatest humanitarians probably in our country.
Hey, you make the Boys and Girls Clubs proud. You represent quite well. Thank you, Vaughn.
Steve, thank you.
All the best. By the way, there's another, remember the other guy, one other guy, Boys and Girls Club? Oh, Shaquille O'Neal, that's right. Right? I got you. Shaq, listen.
We know of him.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Vaughn. I'm Steve Adubato. We thank you so much for watching, even whether you're in the Boys and Girls Club of Newark or not. We'll see you next time.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by the Turrell Fund, supporting Reimagine Childcare, Rutgers University, Newark, the Fidelco Group, Bank of America, RWJ Barnabas Health, Johnson & Johnson, the North Ward Center, United Airlines, and by the Adler Aphasia Center. Promotional support provided by AM 970 The Answer, and by NorthJersey.com and Local IQ, part of the USA Today network.
Hi, I'm Abby. You might see me as an ordinary person, but I've been living with a brain injury since 2018. Opportunity Project gave me hope, and I've gained confidence through job skill training and helping my family. Despite my challenges with memory, I see a possibility to keep improving.
If you have a brain injury, you don't have to face your road to recovery alone. Learn more about Opportunity Project and its partnership with Children's Specialized Hospital.